So in addition to the quality of, let's say, the animals' lives, another important feature of your system is the different outputs and the different inputs that it requires. So it sounds like one of the common features of the giant CAFOs that we've seen has been the waste lagoons that are a necessary element of that. And so the waste from your system ends up being actually a beneficial kind of side product that you use.
I think the word that I would like to use there is that we're trying to embed the commercial farm system. We're trying to embed it into the landscape or embed it into the nest, as opposed to being a kind of a segregated. So it's an integrated as opposed to a segregated thing that takes inputs from outside and generates so much material in one spot that it can't be metabolized or disseminated on site, and then it becomes a toxicity problem. Goodness, if North Carolina didn't have a hurricane every 2 years to flush the pig lagoons out to the ocean, why, North Carolina would be a septic tank right now. And so these are those what nature intends for a blessing, we've segregated away and created toxicity out of it, turned a blessing into a liability, an asset into a liability, and there's a lot of just wasted inertia, and a lot of energy cost, a lot of resource, mining for phosphate or whatever. There's a lot of compensation when you don't tightly integrate these normal circles that nature uses.
Yeah, so it seems like the environmental impact on the side of waste is definitely much better in the Polyface system. One thing that we've heard from some critics of grass feeding beef for their whole life is that they produce more methane as a result of eating more grass instead of eating more corn. And basically because they're also because they're larger, you're effectively having, if you keep the amount of methane produced constant, even if you have a larger cow, it's more pounds of beef per methane emission. So people like that have said, well, yeah, it's not, grass-fed beef tastes great and all that, but we're not sure that it's the solution to the kind of methane emission for cows. So I imagine you've encountered that as well.
Oh, sure, sure. Well, the problem is that they're not recognizing that biomass, a blade of grass, a weed, a clover, whatever, biomass, when it rots, it gives off the same methane as if it's digested through a cow. So if that forage, if that biomass decomposed, whether it's in a wetland or wherever it is, out on the field, in a forest, decaying leaves, okay, whether it decays outside of a body or inside of a body, the methane is the same. Yeah. What's different is that because the herbivore prunes the forage so that as the forage moves to senescence, and slows down and begins this decay cycle, the herbivore can prune it back, just like you'd prune a vineyard or an orchard, okay, to stimulate new verdant growth. Well, the herbivore does that to the forage to stimulate a new juvenile, vibrant growth cycle, which actually pulls the carbon dioxide out of the air more aggressively than if it slows down towards senescence. And so part of the problem with the research is that it's looking at one side of the equation. Yeah. It's looking at strictly only what the cow puts out. It's not looking at what the cow, how the cow benefits the vegetation production, which pulls all those things out of the atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, and so one thing that I found really interesting in your Folks This Ain't Normal book is people often say that, yeah, meat production, again, maybe tastes good. We see its ecological niche, but maybe it's not the most efficient method, because I think the book number that you take on and think isn't right is the idea it's like a 16-to-1 conversion ratio in terms of the kind of calorie inputs to the calorie outputs. And I think your words are something like, I don't know what the heck they're doing on that farm.
Yeah,
So.
well, the fact is that in most of the world, actually, the difference between these natural migratory systems and the production of those systems compared to the production of domestic livestock, actually the natural systems are actually far superior in actual pounds of nutrition per acre, or either measured in that way, like per acre, or pounds of nutrition per calorie of input, per calorie of input. And the reason is because the domestic livestock producers are not fully capturing the complex rotations and synergistic multi-speciated relationships of natural systems. It should give us all pause that I'll just pick a number out of a pre-European number, say in 1600, let's say, or 1500, that North America produced way more pounds of animal per acre than we do today, even with our hybrids, our John Deere tractors, our all our chemical fertilizers and all that.